Hi, it's me, AU9FP. And I went to see a new therapist today. And I don't know if I'm going to continue with him, but I did get some insights. And I don't know if I like all the insights, but it was better than just talking to a wall with the current psychologist I go to. Um, Basically, this new psychologist is basically has two thoughts, and one of them is the social anxiety, but the other one is actually OCD. And I've always dismissed the idea of having OCD because I don't have the compulsions, you know? There's this whole theory of like pure OCD and saying, oh no, that doesn't really actually happen. That there is always some kind of compulsion, even if it's a mental compulsion. But so I've had the thought, but then I've always dismissed it as like, no, I mean, I don't really do that, do I? And I don't know, it might just be autistic ruminations, but it would be nice to know how to deal with this rumination, um, this obsession or OCD or whatever. He hasn't diagnosed me with it because I need to fill out like these questionnaires and stuff, but he has a certain idea that might be true, might not be, I don't know. But at the moment, my thoughts, there are just so many thoughts. And you can't really do a CBT if you have that many thoughts, you know? You can't, and there's so much. And it's not just about social things, it's also just this constant verbiage inside my head and all this, I mean, partly it is how I've always been, my channel. I make like half-hour long videos several times a week for years. And I have like 500 videos on my channel or something. So there's a lot in there that needs to get out. And this is just a fraction of what's going on in my head all the time. And on one hand, I don't want to have zero thoughts, but I wish to just be able to just relax and not have 1,000 thoughts going on all the time. And to not have to rehash the same ideas 1,000 times. Because I think that that's what inadvertently going to this other psychologist is doing, is that I'm rehashing the same stuff with him. And that's not going anywhere, And yeah, I think that a lot of it is autistic rumination, to be fair. I don't think that it's actually OCD. But I have a tendency to like have the thoughts coming over and over, and then it's like I will try to get rid of them, but that's like the worst thing that you can do. And one of those thoughts is, I want to die. And it's a thought, and it's not like I actually want to die. It's just that thought comes in my head all the time. And I have to say it. I have to say it in order to like normalize it, in order for me to like keep going. Is that I become very adept at being able to brush off the thought of wanting to die. But it keeps coming back, and it keeps circling around to the same thoughts. and the thoughts slow me down. They tire me out, and I'm like dying, basically, from the thoughts. And I know that the thoughts are not helpful. They're not helpful in any way, and they're not helping me come to a conclusion or to a solution. But they're there nonetheless. And I told him about my INFJ friend and how it took me like the better part of 2 years to like stop thinking about him every day. And he was like, well, what stopped you from thinking about him now? And I said, well, I am still thinking about him now. He said, yeah, but you're doing it less than before. So what happened? And I think that that's what I talked about in the video that was the cooking video that I made like last week or something, where I was talking about how in order to let go of our obsession, we have to, in order to let go of the rumination, we need to come to our own conclusions and not keep searching for the answer. I didn't say that to the therapist today because I needed some time to gather my thoughts. I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I said I just realized that it wasn't helpful to keep thinking about it. And so I didn't do it as much. And yeah, I am prone to rumination and obsessing over thoughts. And these thoughts often revolve around me wanting to die, me being useless, making a mistake, doing something that is embarrassing, which goes into the social anxiety, you know. It's the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, that kind of thing. I go into this whole, like, this social anxiety loop, but that's also mixed with all sorts of other anxieties and just depressing thoughts about myself, self-deprecating thoughts. And it tires me out so much that I can't focus on anything else. Then there's the whole masking part. Unfortunately, I think that this therapist is not well versed into autism, and he was kind of telling me like, oh, but if you look at people's faces, then you will get their social cues, and then, you know, and he said, well, when you're relaxed, you look at me. When you're stressed, you look down. And I'm like, no, because when I'm stressed, I'm having a hard time concentrating, and so I need to look away in order to concentrate on what I'm saying. And when I'm looking at you, I am like not concentrating on what is going on. I'm just doing it because I have to. And I don't think that he understands the concept of masking. Okay. He does, in a way. He sees that I'm like always looking at how people are assessing me, you know, and always having to observe and do what other people are doing and whatever. But he doesn't see that leaning into the masking is not, it's not going to help me understand social situations more. That's the thing. So I kind of got mad at him for bringing that up. Because I don't think that looking at people's eyes or even in the face, you know, he was like, well, you can look at me between my eyes. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't help me anyway. So there's always something, right? I mean, people aren't perfect, but it's hard when I have to like balance the social anxiety, learning, getting better at that with the autism part. You know, how do I, you know, I find that he has some good points and I want to keep going further, but I don't want to hit this wall of like things being unnecessarily. I don't want him to start talking about masking. Like, he doesn't know that he's talking about masking, but I don't want him to start making me figure out social cues. Like, I don't know. There's that limit there. I don't really want to go into that. There's enough to go into anyway, you know? There's so much to work through. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this right now when I am on the verge of burnout. I don't know. But I want to try again. I want to go to his second appointment. And I want to see what's the treatment plan, what we could get to, you know? He wants me to rate from like 0 to 10 how difficult different tasks are. Yeah, because I was telling him about like the tasks at home and the tasks at work. And I said, well, but basically everything at this new workplace that I'm at is super hard. He was like, well, write them down, you know, write down all of the things that are difficult and how difficult they are. And write the things that are less difficult for you at work compared to at home. And because he was like confused, because I think that he was going a little bit too much into the OCD direction. Because he was like, because I was telling him like, I don't like doing the dishes because I don't like touching dirty food on the plate. And so he started thinking that I was, you know, having the typical OCD of like not liking germs. And I'm like, no, I'm not disgusted. I'm not more disgusted by germs than anybody else. In fact, I think that I am quite not a very clean person, and I don't mind a bit of dirt. I mean, I know that there are some people who really cannot stand the thought of things being a little bit dirty. For me, it's like, it doesn't faze me too much. I live in a house that isn't very clean because I don't clean it, and I've never lived in a super clean house. And you know, I work in medicine, which is kind of a disgusting area of work. Not too disgusting though, because like really what I find more disgusting is the nursing assistants, like having to deal with bodily fluids and stuff. But it's not like it's taking over my life. What is taking over my life is like these returning thoughts of like bad self-worth, you know, self-deprecating stuff. And not only that, but also like trying to figure out what to do in my situation, how to get away from the situation. I keep thinking again and again, I keep going in circles, and I'm never going to get an answer to that. It's not leading me closer to any answers. I'm just in a bad situation, but there's no way out. And that's that's depressing. I don't know how to, you know. And so like, okay, so the thing with OCD, if you're thinking about that, is that you need to, in regular CBT, you would be thinking about challenging your negative automatic thoughts, and then like the feelings and the behaviors that come from that. And, you know, so challenging them, you know, doing exposure therapy and stuff. while for OCD, it's more about letting the thoughts be there. Because what I've been doing is basically brushing off any time that I had thought about suicide. It isn't even really the thought of suicide, it's just this thought, just the words, like disembodied words. I could be saying like banana in my head all the time. It could be that. It's just that it's something that's unpleasant rather than something neutral, you know? I could be just saying fuck in my head 10,000 times. I could be saying shit 10,000 times in my head. Sometimes I do. You know, so it's not really that I'm suicidal in that sense, you know? It's more that this thought is a recurring thing that just like, it's like having a fly in the room, and you know that there's a fly in the room, and it's like you can't, or like you have an itch that you can't scratch. It's just there and constantly. And it feels like my brain cells are burning up, you know? And I don't really have that thought when I am at work and I have to work. It comes during my pauses, and so the problem is that even my pauses feel bad, you know? Even my pauses feel like I can't relax because I keep having that thought, which I brush away, but then the thought returns. And so how do I deal with it? It's like, well, if I give in to the thought, you know, we shouldn't be seeing the thought as like something to fight, because it just grows bigger and bigger. Something to incorporate. It's like, okay, yeah, so I have this thought, it's okay. But yeah, it's great to think it's not great to think that you're having suicidal thoughts, and that's okay. But like, really, I shouldn't be counting them as suicidal thoughts at all. So they're just annoying thoughts. They're just things that are there, and it's like, okay, so you know, this whole video is just an exercise in obsessions. I think it's just part of my cognitive makeup, you know. I'm an INFP, I have the NE that keeps swirling in circles, I have the autism that keeps swirling in circles with the ruminations, and I've always been a person who talks to myself, and I talk to the camera. My brain is never, you know, quiet, no noise, nothing. Because it feels like when my brain is quiet, it's like I'm numb and I'm depressed. Or I have no energy and I'm in autistic burnout. It's not like I'm content and quiet in my brain. Like, that happens, but it's rare. You know, I'm always thinking about something. And yeah, some people don't have internal monologues, they just have pictures. That doesn't mean that their brain is quiet, but I do think that it makes it easier, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of the way that I think, specifically me, not an autistic person, not a INFP, just me. I don't. Sometimes I think of pictures, but I'm very linguistically inclined. Like I think since I was small, I've liked the idea of words. And so everything, all my thoughts are words. I don't know how I did as a baby when I didn't have words. Maybe I thought more in pictures. I don't know. But since I knew words, I just have a constant conversation with myself. Yeah, sometimes that's why I wondered if I don't have ADHD. You know, it's like, if you think that I have OCD, I may as well have ADHD as well. You know, like let me collect all the diagnoses. I I don't know. I don't know. But it's like it's like, how do you treat overthinking? I don't know. I also got a little bit insulted in the fact that he was like, oh, so you know about breathing exercises. I'm like, yeah, I do. It just doesn't help. Or like it does help, but I don't do the actual breathing exercise. All I do is like I breathe in deeply and I breathe out deeply. And I don't want to do it in front of anybody because I have social anxiety. So I'm not going to show you. Huh. You know? But like, we got into some deep things. I told him about like that I laugh and that I laugh at the appropriate times, and he was like, is it a reflex or is it that you actually went to laugh? And I'm like, well, I don't know. It's like kind of both, because I find things funny that other people don't find funny apparently, and also it's kind of like a reflex because I've had this as long as I remember. So, you know, he was trying to figure out a ton of things in a very short amount of time. So, I mean, kudos to him. I think that he does a good job. I just think that he's going about things in a very different way than I would have thought, but it is actually good to have that other perspective. Somebody that's never met me before, starting from scratch, you know? So I think he does a very good job. I'm not sure about his idea of the OCD, and I'm not sure about his idea of, eye contact, the masking versus understanding social cues part. But I think that he is good at what he does in general. I don't know what to do because he's set me he's told me to go look to set goals. And it's like that's one of my worst thing is that I can't do goals to save my life. I'm like, okay, so I mean, my thoughts is that maybe it's just the situation that I'm in, that no amount of therapy is going to fix the situation that I'm in. That is bad. It's bad for me. It just is. And so if I want to focus on growth, really I should be in this situation while I'm doing it, you know? So there's also this whole thing of like, I don't want So there are certain things that I want to grow on that don't have to do with the situation I'm in right now. You know, like maybe, you know, if I was in a better situation, maybe I just wouldn't have all of these thoughts about dying, you know, and so I wouldn't need to work on this on the longer term because like I'd be doing okay. Um, so what's longer term solution like to the rest of my life? I yeah, it's not really the right time. But when is the right time? That's the thing, is that I should have done this at the time where I could actually work on growth. But right now I'm just working on surviving. And it's like, I don't think I want to exposure therapy myself more because I am in a constant state of exposure therapy at all times. And I'm in like fight or flight modes. So I don't know if this is going to work. Um, yeah, I I'm seriously starting to doubt. I don't want to. I want to like actually work on this, but it's like I um the thing is, it's kind of like my one chance here, and like I should take it. But is it good to take it? Um, will it turn out okay? I mean, we'll never know until we try. But like, it's stressful, and like my whole life is stress. So like, I'm not fully myself. If I want something more longer lasting, maybe I should go more into like the social anxiety part. But unfortunately, the social anxiety part of it all is deeply linked to some autistic masking that I want to get away from. You know, I don't want to learn how to mask more. I don't want to learn how to socialize. I don't want to, but I want to be able to like trust people and to actually learn to be confident in myself in social situations, even social situations where the whole point of me being there is being evaluated by people. Because like basically what I'm going through is like 6 months of constant evaluation, which you know, it's a very specific kind of evaluation for like I need to do some specific kind of tasks, but it's not purely a social anxiety exposure therapy because it involves different kind of tasks. So yeah, I don't know if I want to expose myself to any kind of social blunder right now when it's so crucial to my job. Like I need to do all this masking and stuff in order to survive, in order to do this placement, in order to, you know, I can't, right now is not the time for me to embarrass myself in public in order to grow. Like I can't do that because it will lead to disastrous consequences. You know, I it's not a good time. I don't know. And so I'm less confident now than when I started this video. But okay, I'm glad I made a video at least. I'm glad I thought about this. And I'm glad I tried out this new kind of therapy. We'll see if I go. I think I'll go the second time, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to go the third time or whatever. The second time will be on my holiday, and we're just going to be trying to do a treatment plan. But if I can't do the treatment plan, then yeah, we'll see. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Bye.